Alright y'all, this is the front shoulder. I have a garbage can set up here. I've got a couple of knives. Okay. The front shoulder, I typically don't try to do anything with it. Let me see what I'm doing here. I don't try to do anything with it. I grind it all up. It's got a piece of the neck muscle here. I'll let you see what it looks like on the other side. It's got all this fat, all this connective tissue. Got to trim all of that off. Then I will debone it, take the bone out of it, and try to get as much as this silver skin off of it. It's very, very tough, and it clogs up the grinder that I use on the, this is dangerous for me, but I try to get all this silver skin off of it, as much of it as I can, because it just clogs up the grinder. I'm gonna make ground meat out of this. I've got plenty of sausage that I've made, country style sausage, but I'm gonna take it all off, and then we'll get to deboning it. You don't need to watch me take it off. I'm just going to cut all this fat and as much as this tough silver skin that I can get off of here, and I'll be back. Alright y'all, continuing on, I've turned it over. You want to get as much as this fat and connective tissue off. Each time you go from one muscle group to the next, there's connective tissue. I try to get as much off as I can because I don't want to clog up the grinder. Plus, this fat, some people can eat it. I can't. It's tallow. It's what Browning used to put, a little container of it, and I have melted some of this down before. And they used to put a little container of it in your shotgun when you'd buy one of their automatic shotguns to put on the magazine tube where the friction rings were to act as a lubricant. But I don't like the taste of it. Some people eat it, I ain't. But I try to trim off. And you lose a little bit of meat too, but I'm going to grind this meat up. This is not a primo portion. And I try to get as much of this off as possible. I'm kind of anal retentive about it because it's not tasty at all. Now this is just the tip of the shoulder blade up here. And y'all need to learn how to do some of this butchering too, because one day you might very well be eating zombies. I don't have a problem with eating zombies. I've eaten worse. You just get as much of that stuff off as you can. Each time you go through a muscle, this connective tissue, you need to get off as much of the fat that lays in between there. And of course be watching for little errant bits of hair that are typically found when you get through cleaning a deer. Now I'm going to go back over here. Now see, this is the neck meat. All this is going to be ground. I can take all this apart. You want good sharp knives. This just happens to be a fillet knife because I find it gets down in between the layers fairly easy. And I'm going to take, see this muscle? See where it goes? That'll be ground up. I'll get some of this off. This flap right here, went up on the side of the neck. I'm going to get all this off. This will all be ground. It's not rocket science. I'll trim this up. Trim some of this best I can. That'll go into a meat grinder. I know a bunch of these professional butchers are probably laughing right now. I don't blame them. Now, there's a bone. See that seam right there? That is the shoulder blade. Now, you could cut this way and make what they call, I think it's called 7-bone steaks. But I'm going to go down through here and I'm going to cut that bone out of there, or the meat away from the bone. And again, it's good to have a good sharp knife when you're doing this. And when you shake like I do, this ain't an easy project. But it's a fun project. You feel better when you do it yourself. Well, I do. And you just go down to the blade, the shoulder blade right here. Just get down in there. And you just fillet it out of there. I'm going to keep going with this, and once I get it out, get it separated, I'll show you what I have. Alright y'all, I've gone in here, I've taken that piece of meat off, I've gone down to the shoulder blade here, gone under, and you take that piece of meat off. Of course I'll trim up as much of this as I can, but this will all be ground. There's not really much over here. Right now it's just a matter of picking. I'm just taking this meat off. This will all get ground up. There's no meat here to speak of. That's bone, shoulder bone. All of this will come out. Just go down to the bone. Some people make a little roast and whatnot out of it, but I'm just going to grind it, every bit of it. And there's a grocery store here where they'll save pork or beef fat, whichever you want. And I've got plenty of pork from last year, and I'm gonna get beef, and I'll grind it up, and it's, for my money, it's just like ground beef. All of this down here is mostly tough. I'll get some of this out, but not much. I'll trim this off, all these little pieces, and I'll get as much of that tallow or the fat and silver skin that I can off of it. And it'll just be ground up, mixed with beef. And when eating it, you won't be able to tell it from ground meat. Now I know I'm not neat, but I've got a bit of a handicap. But I'm gonna pick at this, and I'll show you what I got. What I end up with here is this is bone. Garbage. The next thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take what I have left, and I've trimmed most of what I could get of the fat off of it. Some people probably eat it. I am not. And I'm grinding all of this, every bit of it. And every muscle in between has a silver skin on it. And like I say, it will choke down a grinder. But if you cut the meat up in small pieces like I'm doing here, as small as you can, I'll cut it up into little teeny cubes. Number one, I don't have a big professional grinder, and I'll cut it up, and I'll cut it across that silver skin where I haven't been able to get at it. If I come across a piece, I don't like it, I cut it out. And I'll cut this up into cubes across that silver skin where each and every muscle is covered with it, where it's connected. And I'll take it and I'll put it in a container and I'll weigh it. Okay, and there'll be some come off the ham that I'm going to do after this video. Every bit of this I'll cut up. See, that's silver skin. It's tough. But if you cut across it, it'll go through the meat grinder. And I'll weigh it. And then when I see what it weighs, I'll go to the grocery store and ask them to save me, as an example. If I have 8 pounds, I'll go and ask them to save me 2 pounds. In this particular case, beef fat. And they will save it for me. And I'll mix it and it'll be 80-20. And to be honest, if it's done and it's done right, you can't tell the difference between it and beef. This is not a buck, this was a doe. A large buck in rut. You may run into a little bit of a gamey flavor. But in this particular case, this was a doe and she's going to be good. A lot of people, I have taken it, made 7-bone steaks. See this? Just cut it up into chunks. Weigh it all. Figure out how much fat, whatever way you like it. And that's what you make the fat content. And then I'll vacuum seal it into probably 1 pound containers. Little vacuum seal bags. That's all there is to it. Each and every one of these muscles that comes off this animal, I try to do the best I can to trim it all up. I want a quality product when I get through, and I try not to waste anything. I mean, the animal did give its life, so even though I've been given dominion over them, I try to show them all the respect I can and not waste anything. But that's just me. Your thoughts may differ. And this is a simple way that I do it. I just, I don't have any butcher knowledge. I just do the best I can. Simple folks got simple ways. And the next one will be the ham, and then we'll grind it. Appreciate y'all watching.